Today, I'm going to be beating Pokemon Yellow with only a Krabby, and I have to say I'm really excited to do this because Krabby has some strange base stats. It has 30 HP, 25 special, and 50 speed. All of these are not particularly good. However, it has 105 attack and 90 defense. So it's a decent defender with excellent attack, and it's just terrible at everything else. So in the lab battle against the rival, you get a chance to see which growth rate your Pokemon has, and Krabby has a medium fast growth rate. I can tell this because it just levels up in the fight against the Eevee. If I had almost made it to level 7, then I would be a medium slow growth rate, and if I hadn't leveled up at all, then I'd be a slow growth rate Pokemon. Medium fast is the second worst growth rate, at least for the early game, but luckily, Krabby starts out with Bubble, which is not very good when you have a single-digit special stat, but at least this move is going to do 4 times damage to all of Brock's Pokemon. Still, this move is quite weak, and it means that all the early game Pokemon, like the Caterpie and the Pidgeys and the Rattata, are going to take a long time to knock out. Granted, I don't think I'm going to need to do much training to defeat Brock. His Pokemon have such terrible special stats anyways, but what I'm really worried about are the trainers on Route 3, because some of them can be very challenging when you only have Bubble and you're not very good with it. If you're curious in seeing me struggle against those trainers, go check out my Poliwag video. So with that knowledge, I know that I'm going to need to do some training in the early game to level Krabby up. I'd really like to be able to get access to Vice Grip as fast as possible, which Krabby learns at level 20, but just because of how much experience is available, I probably won't have that before Cerulean City. Beyond that, on its level up learn set, it gets Guillotine, a one-hit KO move. By the way, these all have a flat 30% accuracy in Generation 1. It is not determined based on how many levels you are above the opponent. Also, Guillotine will never hit if you are slower than the opponent's Pokemon, and with base 50 speed, Krabby is going to be slower than so many key foes. Then I get Stomp at level 30, which has a 30% chance to flinch, Crab Hammer, which has a high crit rate. Now this move I will discuss in depth later on in the video because it actually is gonna be relevant, but for now let's just keep it in the back of our mind because it's a cool move. Has a great name, by the way, Crab Hammer, that's like the coolest thing. The final level up move that Krabby learns is Harden at level 40, and this is going to be great because it's a way that I can set up the badge boost. However, just below that on my TM and HM learn set, you can see that I learned Swords Dance, and I think that this is going to be the far better badge boosting move. Beyond that, Krabby gets access to Body Slam, Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Mimic, Rest, and Surf. After defeating the mandatory Bug Catcher in Viridian Forest, Krabby is level 10, and I figured that this would be enough to just proceed with the playthrough and head to the Pewter City Gym. In here, there is the Light Years Junior Trainer. He has a Diglett and a Sandshrew. I might as well defeat him because I have super effective damage. With that experience, I am level 11 before Brock, so now let's see how the first gym leader goes. He leads with Geodude. It's very slow. Krabby moves first, hits Bubble, and yeah, I don't get the one hit, even though I have 4 times damage and I'm a water type. Oh, Krabby's special is just terrible. Luckily, I knocked the Geodude out on the next turn, and also I don't really have to fear Brock's Pokemon because my defense stat is quite good. As a result, I am able to take out the Onix and earn myself the first badge. With it comes a 12.5% boost to my attack stat and the TM for Bide. By the way, I've started teaching this to all my Pokemon as soon as I head out onto Route 3. This is just because it allows me to bypass accuracy checks, and also it allows me to pay back damage, which might be faster for Krabby in defeating some of these Pokemon than spamming Bubble. After all, look at how much damage I am doing to these Caterpie with Bubble. Like, it is not going well. This is going to be extremely slow. I was very worried in this battle that his Weedle would poison me with Poison Sting, and then I would just take too much status-inflicted damage on the next Caterpie, and this would potentially lead to a defeat, but luckily I don't get poisoned, and I am able to finish off the following Caterpie. But Krabby's not through the woods yet because the next guy, this youngster, he has a Rattata and an Ekans, and he's actually really good. The Rattata can do a lot of damage with moves like Quick Attack, it can also stack up Tail Whip, and then the Ekans can come in, it can also poison you, or it can go for Wrap and trap you, which is just really annoying. By the time the Rattata goes down, I only have half health left over for the Ekans. It goes for Poison Sting. Luckily, it only does 3 damage, and it looks like Bubble is going to knock this thing out in like maybe 6 hits. It's so bad. Ekans goes for Wrap, taking Krabby all the way down to red health, and eventually I am able to finish it off with a critical hit. But I'm going to have to go back to the Pokemon Center in Pewter City and heal up before I continue on this route. For me, it always feels like a failure having to make these little additional trips back to the center mid-route. I also feel this way on Nugget Bridge. So yeah, maybe things are not boding so well for Krabby and the rest of this playthrough. After that, the next trainer is this last, and yes, I have talked about every single trainer on Route 3 so far. It is going to continue because the Rattata, once again, can lower your defense with Tail Whip, which is the perfect setup because then once the Nidoran comes out, and I'm quite bruised, under half health, when it hits Horn Attack, it can do a lot of damage. In this case, I survive with 9 hit points, but Bubble is just not dealing enough damage. Luckily, Nidoran goes for Leer next, and then instead of choosing Horn Attack, which I'm sure would have finished me off, it goes for Tackle, actually getting a critical hit, which I think caused it to do less damage. After all, in Generation 1, crits bypass all stat modifications, so it bypassed my -2 defense. As a result, Krabby is able to survive, I hit Bubble, and it takes the Nidoran out. Alright, so that's quite frustrating. Luckily, I have some potions, so I'll heal up and I will continue with the route. And this trainer, I'm going to save before him. That's not because he's hard, it's just because I want to lock in all of the battles that I've done up until this point. So many times in my playthroughs, I failed to save after a key battle, and then something happens, let's say in Mount Moon, and I'm teleported back to the beginning of Route 3, and that feels really bad. And everyone protests in the comments like, hey, Scott, this is really not fair to Krabby's results, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, I do second playthroughs with every Pokemon. This is so that when I rank the Pokemon, I can place them fairly and feel good about how they stack up against each other. After all, a first playthrough is always filled with mistakes, and it never gives accurate enough results for me to be sure about the final rankings. Alright, so with the heal outside of Mount Moon, I head in, grab the TM for Water Gun, and yeah, this move is twice as good as Bubble, so at least I'm going to get a little bit more damage, but it's still not that much. Vice Grip will be doing way more than both of these moves, even though it doesn't get the same type attack bonus. So I want to fight some trainers in here to level up. The first one, of course, is the Super Nerd, then I grab the Rare Candy, and the Escape Rope. Yes, I did pick up the escape rope. Normally, I say this item is only useful in red and blue because you can use it to escape Bill's house back to Cerulean City. You save somewhere between 3 seconds and 5 seconds of walking time by doing that. But today I'm going to use it for a different purpose, and that's so I can face more trainers in Mount Moon, and then use it to escape out back to the Pokemon Center to heal in the case that my PP is getting low. So I was fighting this youngster, and by the time I knock out the first Rattata, I am lower than half health. Then the second one lowers my defense, hits with Quick Attack, and I have very little health left over for the following Zubat, which is scary because this thing knows Supersonic. If you deal damage to yourself, it uses your attack stat and your defense stat to calculate the amount of damage, and I really don't want to have that happen with Krabby. Luckily, the Zubat doesn't go for Supersonic, and I am able to take it out, but that was a good reminder that I'm going to have to be careful in all the fights where the opponent can use Confusion. Next, of course, I'm going to fight the Hiker. I have 4 times damage against him, and even Bubble is capable of knocking out all of his Pokemon with a single hit each. I'm also going to take out all of the wild Geodude that show up just for some extra experience, and then I battle this Rocket on the basement floor, and here for whatever reason I made a misplay and I chose Bubble instead of going for Water Gun. I get confused by the Zubat, hit myself dealing absolutely massive damage twice in a row, and that leaves Krabby with only 5 hit points left. So will I get by the confusion? And in this case, I do, finishing the Zubat off. Alright, so I'm getting kind of low on PP, and I'm also low on health, so I'm going to use the escape rope now to go and heal up, and then I can head back into the cave. After that, I take on the Super Nerd. He's not that hard, and this battle levels Krabby up to level 18. Of course, Dome Fossil, and after that, I decided to knock out this Clefairy. I can't believe it. Like, yes, I am talking about a wild Clefairy that showed up. It used Sing on me, put me to sleep, and started pounding away and did so much damage to Krabby. In a case like this, I don't really want to run, but I would have if it hit me one more time. Luckily, I'm able to finish it off and gain that experience. Up next is Jesse and James, and once again, they could have been scary. Every trainer up until this point has been scary just because Krabby lacks a physical move. With Vice Grip, all of these battles would have been trivial. So with that out of the way, I exit Mount Moon, and now it's time for Cerulean City. With water types, I want to fight Misty first so that I get access to the TM for Bubble Beam before Nugget Bridge. This move gives me better damage ranges against the rival Sandshrew, and this minimizes the chance that I get hit by Sand Attack and end up having a loss there. But for Krabby, I'm not sure that this is the best strategy. After all, I don't have very good special, so Bubble Beam won't be hitting that hard anyways, and Misty might be a bit challenging to defeat, but she does have good AI, meaning she's gonna not use any water type moves against me, which for Krabby is actually a really good thing. I think that her water type moves actually might do more damage to Krabby just because of its special stat. However, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna need to be level 20 with Vice Grip to be able to get this done, so let's fight some of the trainers in her gym. First up is this swimmer. I take the horsey out and I only have like half health left over for the shelter. It goes for tackle, doing quite a bit. It keeps tackling, and I'm just barely able to take it out with Krabby surviving on 1 hit point. Okay, yeah, that was not supposed to go that way. Okay, let's save before the Golden Trainer in Misty's gym. Here, I was like, I'll use Bide. This thing's probably going to hit me with like 1 or 2 pecks, and then I'll just pay the damage back, but no, it just confuses me. I hit myself a bunch, canceling Bide over and over again, and yeah, I get a reset, so that's pretty frustrating. By the way, Krabby is just about to level up, so I'm going to head back to the grass, fight some wild Pokemon, and take myself up to level 20 so that I can finally learn Vice Grip in the place of Leer. By the way, here, I just want to do a quick stat comparison. There are actually only 15 Pokemon with more base attack than Krabby. Funnily enough, Mewtwo only has 5 more attack. I find that so funny. Also, the Pokemon with the highest base attack in the entire game is Dragonite, and it has 134. Krabby is also tied in base attack with Pokemon like Primeape, Victreebel, Muck, Hitmonchan, and Aerodactyl. It also has more attack than Rapidash and Tauros, as well as Moltres. Like, what? This crab is kind of a beast, only when it's attacking. Every other time, it's pretty bad. So with that comparison settling into your brains, let's now take on Misty. Unfortunately, Krabby isn't faster than her Staryu, which allows her to set up an X defend before I attack, and as a result I do less than half. Because I need 2 more hits with Vice Grip, I have to tank 2 tackles before her lead goes down. Now, I just want to quickly draw your attention to a small glitch that I was having during this playthrough. Check out Starmie's defense stat. Like, I'm trying to get this little, like, green bubble to appear showing its stage modifier, but, like, the stat is just glitching out, like, hard. Look at it. It's, like, dancing. Anyways, I have corrected this in the future, so sorry about that. Also, because Vice Grip was doing so little damage to the Starmie after it got set up, I decided to go for Bide, figuring that it was going to hit with either Tackle or just use Harden and do nothing. And in this case, I'm able to absorb damage, pay it back, and it still doesn't do very much. I only took 1 tackle that time. I'll go for Bide again. I think this might have been a misplay, but luckily, Starmie gets a critical hit, Krabby survives, I pay back massive damage, and with that, Misty is no more. So the prize from defeating her is the TM for Bubble Beam, which I'm going to teach right away in the place of Bubble. You might ask, why not delete Bide? After all, you don't need it anymore because you just defeated Misty, but I want to save Bide to bypass accuracy checks just in case I get my accuracy lowered too many times against the rival on Nugget Bridge. Both his Eevee and his Sandshrew have the ability to lower your accuracy, so I want to be careful there. Alright, so here we go. Up first is Spearow. Unfortunately, my Vice Grip does not knock it out, and it gets a Growl off, lowering my attack. That is going to make the rest of the fight less good. Okay, Sandshrew time. Bubble Beam is here to take care of this Pokemon, and I get the 1 hit, so that's perfect. Next is Rattata. It has low special defense, so I decided to go for Bubble Beam, but I probably should have gone for Vice Grip. As a result, the Rat does survive, but it just lowers my defense, and then I finish it off on the next turn. Alright, now it's time for the Eevee. Since I have full health, I'm pretty confident in this battle. I just want to draw your attention to one new addition to the overlay. When I get my accuracy lowered, now I have a -1 for the accuracy in the top left, so you can see what the stage modifier is. And if you look at the accuracy column on my moveset, you can actually see that all these accuracies updated dynamically to show the chance that each one of my moves has to hit now. Yes, in Generation 1, when your accuracy is lowered once, you lose 34% accuracy on moves that had a 100% chance to hit. Like, that is an absolutely brutal debuff. Alright, so with the rival out of the way, it's time for me to take care of Nugget Bridge. For Krabby, there isn't really anything notable in this section of the game, like Vice Grip has a lot of PP, and it's just gonna carry me through all of these battles. After all that's finished, I head outside of Cerulean City. Here I use an ether to replenish Vice Grip's PP. This is so I don't have to heal at a center. It does take a little bit more time than using an item. Then I go up against the rocket and I forgot to heal, so that's pretty unfortunate. Also, Vice Grip is not one-hitting these Pokemon, and that's giving them the chance to attack. Luckily, the Drowsy doesn't use Hypnosis, and I do finish it off. Once I'm through the tunnel, I actually run into a wild Rattata. It is quite rare to get an encounter here, but I'm lucky that I did in this case because it reminds me that Krabby has low health. And then I open my inventory and I'm like, all right, I should just heal, but I don't have any potions left over, so I'm going to have to burn my full restore now, which is really unfortunate because I'd like to keep it for the SS Anne, just in case my Pokemon gets burnt by the gentleman. But I do really want to take the heal here because Sandy can be very challenging. Hopefully, Vice Grip is going to give me the one hit on all of her Pidgeys though. And in this case, it does. So with that, I made it to the SS Anne, and this is great for Krabby because now I have access to an amazing physical move in the form of Body Slam. I'm going to replace Bide because there aren't as many scary Sand Attack users from this point on. After that, I pick up the TM for Rest, and then I take on the Gentleman. I once made a joke about like burning fish and like how is that possible, and then everyone's like, what do you do to fish when you cook them? Yeah, you burn them. Like, okay, I get it. So yes, he can burn me in this case, but luckily for me, Krabby is both faster and stronger than both of his Pokemon, and Body Slam gets the one hits. Defeating this optional trainer gives me access to a rare candy, and then I go up against the rival. I am not scared at all for this fight because Body Slam is so good. I make it through his first 3 Pokemon with a series of one-hits, but the Eevee just barely hangs on. Still, that doesn't matter, and I finish it off. And with that fight out of the way, I now have a choice to make. Do I want to fight Surge now and chance a reset, or do I want to go through Rock Tunnel and then backtrack to him later? Well, his Raichu has 65 speed, and I think that even with like 3 to 4 more levels and some Carbos, I am not even going to speed tie it, so I might as well do the fight now because I'm pretty sure that Body Slam is going to be able to get the 2-hit. Well, there's only one way to find out. Surge sends in Raichu. Which move is it going to pick? Oh, it goes for Thunderbolt. So will Krabby survive with its terrible special? And the answer is no, it most definitely will not. So that is a reset. Okay, Surge, you are one of the worst trainers in this game, so just don't use Thunderbolt again. Good. This time he goes for Mega Punch. It actually gets a critical hit and does half to Krabby, so I can't take another one of those. Luckily, my Body Slam does do more than half to the Raichu, but it strikes back with Mega Kick and gets a critical hit, knocking Krabby out. Like, 2 losses to Surge. It's painful. Well, he's not going to beat me 3 times, is he? I guess he is, because he chooses Thunderbolt and Krabby goes down again. Here's the thing though, my special stat is so bad that I think even if I got like 4 more levels doing Rock Tunnel and came back here, that I still might not be able to survive one hit from the Thunderbolt. So I'm just going to have to wait till luck aligns, and for me it does in the next fight. After having my attack lowered by Growl, Krabby scores a critical hit, and Raichu goes down. Alright, so with that badge I get a 12.5% boost to my defense stat, so now Krabby's 2 best stats are getting percentage boosts, which is just amazing at this point in the game. Outside of Cerulean City, the Wrapping Lass is no problem because I'm able to one-hit all of her Pokemon. Then inside of Rock Tunnel I have to go up against the Pokemaniac. I went for Bubble Beam against the Cubone, but funnily enough, when I did damage calculations for my second playthrough, I am actually doing more damage to it with Body Slam. Krabby's special is so bad. Anyways, he's not a problem. I take out the Slowpoke after that and move on to the Status Condition Junior Trainer. She's bad because the Oddish can use Sleep Powder and then Absorb, or Stun Spore and then the Bulbasaur can mess you up, but in this case, Body Slam just messes her up. Now, I've complained a lot about my water moves not being very good, but they are definitely more than enough to defeat the self-destructing hiker. After him, there's only one more trainer in the cave. I call her the Finisher because she's so good at polishing you off when you just don't have very many Pokemon left. When I defeat her today, Krabby gets the chance to learn Stomp, and I might as well replace Vice Grip at this point because Stomp is just superior in every way. In Celadon City, I'm going to head to the hideout, collect some items in here, and then grab the rare candy. After that, I head to the department store. Here, I purchase some repels, and then I head up to the top floor to grab some TMs. Of these, the only one that Krabby can learn is Ice Beam. I will, in just a little bit, teach it in the place of Water Gun, but before I do that, I am going to buy some vitamins. Now, usually the safe play in Pokemon Yellow is to buy Carbos, because speed is so important throughout the mid-game, But today, especially because I get Swords Dance, I want to invest in protein. By increasing my attack stat by 1 point at this level, whenever I use Swords Dance, that 1 point increase will actually be a 4-point increase because Swords Dance multiplies your attack stat. So I figure that this is a way that I can get even more damage and potentially squeeze through the game at a lower level. Alright, with all the shopping done, now let's head to Pokemon Tower and take on the rival. Now in a lot of my playthroughs, I make mistakes, I'm sure all of you know that, and today I use Ice Beam against the Furo, which I really shouldn't be doing, because then it can use Mirror Move, reflect it back at me, and potentially freeze. However, it doesn't get the status today, so I knock it out. Next is Magnemite. I actually get a Gen 1 miss on Body Slam here, then it misses Tackle, and I finish it off with my next Body Slam. Shelter comes out. I don't quite knock it out because this thing has good defense. I get confused by Supersonic as a result, but still hit Body Slam and take it down. Next is Sandshrew, and I'm able to snap out of confusion before I knock it out, allowing me to just attack the Eevee, but it barely hangs on. It gets some damage in with Quick Attack, but I finish it on the next turn. So overall, that was not a hard rival battle, and normally in these games, I'd say it's the second easiest. The easiest rival fight is definitely on the SS Anne. Heading further into Pokemon Tower, I have to fight this Chandler. She has 2 Ghastly, and she is mandatory. Thank you so much for suggesting names for her. And I think I'm going to go with Agatha Jr. because she really does feel like that. Just awful RNG can cause losses for even the greatest Pokemon. Luckily today for Krabby, all of the RNG is on my side, and I get freezes on both of the Ghastly, leading to a swift victory. So after defeating Jesse and James and grabbing the Pokeflute, I head to Cycling Road. I really like to go here next because going to the Safari Zone gives me access to vitamins, and I can also do some training along this route if I want to. And I think today for Krabby it makes sense to do this. After all the bikers and cue balls here give decent attack stat experience, and that is Krabby's best stat. Like, this thing is relying on its attack. Like, look at my attack stat. It is currently triple digits, and my Krabby is only level 33. After that, I head into the Safari Zone where I grab Surf. And now you'll notice that in my party, I have picked up Squirtle, and you might be like, why not just teach Charmander Strength? Well, first of all, I don't want to accidentally click Dig and dig out of Victory Road. So that's one reason not to teach Charmander Strength. And the other reason is that I don't want to use Krabby for Surf. In Generation 1, there is no move deleter, so if I taught it Surf, there would be no way to get rid of this move. And I actually think that learning Crab Hammer, which I'm about to learn at level 35, is going to be the better water type move. That sounds really strange, especially because Crab Hammer doesn't have perfect accuracy, but later on in the playthrough, it is going to be very clutch against one specific trainer. I finish off the 2 trainers that I normally fight in Silph, grabbing the card key and then a protein. And after that, I head up to the 7th floor where I unlock this door and pick up the TM for Swords Dance. So this is the moveset that I've wanted for this playthrough: Body Slam, Ice Beam, Crab Hammer, and Swords Dance. But still, I'm only level 35, so I'm going to go through Silph and fight a bunch of optional trainers to level Krabby up. What I'm finding in my playthroughs is that being about level 40 for the rival here is ideal if you don't want to have too many resets. Plus, I'm a first stage Pokemon, and at some point I am going to have to do training if I have any hope of winning later on in the game, so I might as well do it now and skip some backtracking. So with the training done, let's take on the rival. Up first, of course, is Sandslash. I hate this thing. Against it, I really have to set up Swords Dance. This is, of course, risky because Slash does so much damage, but I need to boost my attack stat to the point where I'm going to be able to knock out the following Cloyster easily. With +4, my Body Slam takes it all the way down to a Sliver. He uses a potion, and I'm able to finish it off. Okay, that's nice. Magneton's next. I go for Body Slam, taking it out. But then the Kadabra is faster than Krabby. It moves first with Confusion, takes me down to 7 hit points, and it gets the status. Are you kidding me? As a result, Krabby does damage to itself, and that's it. Here's the thing though, in this fight, the Sandslash is not nearly as good as it is in other fights, especially the champion fight. In this case, it can use moves like Poison Sting and do very little damage. I get by it with +4 and green health. This time I paralyze the Cloyster so I don't take any damage from it. I finish the Magneton off in a single hit, and then the Kadabra just goes for Disable, it misses, and I knock it out. So yeah, I'm faster than the Flareon, and Body Slam 1 hits. Of course, Jesse and James are easy, and Giovanni's going to be easy, right? Like, I can just set up with Swords Dance at the beginning of the fight, knock out the Nidorino and the Persian with Body Slam, Then, because I have Crab Hammer, I can do 4 times damage to the Rhyhorn, finishing it off. I have half health left over, and I'm just going to be able to one-hit the Nidoqueen with Body Slam. It actually moves first. It has 1 more speed than Krabby. It hits Body Slam, taking me down to red health. My Body Slam gets a critical hit, bypassing my stat changes, allowing the Nidoqueen to survive, and it goes for Scratch, which Krabby survives on 5 hit points. If it had used Body Slam again, I would have lost there. Well, with Silph out of the way, I don't have great speed, so I think it makes sense to head to Koga next, because I am faster than his 3 Venonats, but not the Venomoth. Going and facing Sabrina doesn't make sense because I'm not even faster than the Abra yet, and I don't really want to face Erica like I could, but my special is so bad, so I would rather put that off as long as is possible. So up first is a Venonat, and this one knows Sleep Powder. It also knows that Sleep Powder is a grass type move, so it's going to spam this against me because I'm a water type. However, in order to get through all of these Pokemon and one-hit them, I think I will need at least 1 Swords Dance, so I am hoping that Sleep Powder misses. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The Venonat starts using Psychic, it goes to Tackle, then it uses Psychic again, and Krabby sleeps way too long and goes down. Alright, so that did not feel good. Maybe facing Erica first is the right choice. After all, there are so many trainers in her gym, and their Pokemon are not particularly strong. Body Slam is more than enough to just speed through all of them and gain a bunch of experience. By the way, this edit in Erica's gym where I show that I'm battling all the trainers but I cut out all the battles is like one of my favorite edits to add to the videos. I'm sure all of you are getting kind of sick of it, like, yes, Scott, we know that you can do this. And it probably takes Sean and Rick way too long to do every time. But this is the investment that I really want to make. I want this in every video. Anyways, after defeating all those trainers, it's time to take on Erica. Tangela is up first, and by the way, this thing is way better than it is in Red and Blue. In those games, it only has Constrict and Bind. Now it has Mega Drain and Vine Whip. Of course, she does have good AI, so she's not going to use Constrict or Bind against Krabby. That means while I set up, I am going to get hit by grass moves. Because Vine Whip did almost half, I think I'm just going to go for the Sweep Down with +2. And because I'm able to knock the Tangela out with 1 hit, this is not going to be a problem. I sweep past the Weepinbell and past the Gloom and take an easy victory, earning myself the 4th badge. So with that victory, it is time to head back to Koga and try this again. One potential thing that I could do to make this maybe a bit better would be to use Body Slam on the first turn. Then if I get Paralysis, the Venonat has another way that it can miss with Sleep Powder, but it doesn't in this fight. Luckily, while I'm sleeping, Koga uses an X attack. Krabby wakes up, Venonat only uses Tackle, which is nice. I set up Swords Dance, giving me +2 attack, and then of course, because of his AI, Venonat puts me back to sleep with Sleep Powder. But here's where Paralysis is useful, because while I'm sleeping, the Venonat is missing moves. I wake up, Koga uses an X attack, and now it's my time. I go for Body Slam, knocking the first Venonat out. Okay, so now let's see with +2 if I'm able to one-shot the following 2 Venonats. I go for Body Slam, the second one, okay, I got a critical hit on the second one, so that's a bit annoying. Okay, will the third one go down? And the answer is yes, it will. I level up to level 46. Luckily, this doesn't affect my attack stat. Venomoth comes out, and I am going to lose if it uses Psychic. But instead, it uses Leech Life, doing very little to me. I hit with Body Slam, and the Moth survives. Are you kidding me? I guess that's because it's a Rock type. On its next turn in battle, it goes for Psychic and finishes Krabby off. In the next fight, you can see that I get taken out by Venonat because of sleep. This is really not going well, so maybe there's something that I can do first. If I fly back to Saffron City, I can grab myself the Mimic TM and then head to Sabrina's gym. After all, I have a great attack stat, and while I can't outspeed, at least when I do manage to hit, I will be knocking her Pokemon out. Up first is Abra. Now I could try to set up here, but instead I'm just going to go for Body Slam right away, and I'm able to knock it out even when it had an X defend. Next is Kadabra. It fails a Kinesis, Body Slam hits, and I finish it off. Alright, so I've made it to the Alakazam. It just goes for Recover when it's at full health. My Body Slam hits, taking it down to orange health, and then Alakazam uses Psychic. So yeah, that's a one-hit. There's no way I'm going to survive that. This part of the game is quite frustrating when you're using a Krabby, just because all of the opponent Pokemon are quite good with special moves. And you can see that here even against Sabrina's Kadabra because it has Psychic in yellow version and it can one-hit Krabby. Okay, if I get a third loss, I'm definitely going to go do some training. In this fight, things start off bad. I get my accuracy lowered once by the Abra, then I knock it out. Then I miss against the Kadabra, allowing it to get a Kinesis in, lowering my accuracy again. By the way, when you have -2 accuracy, moves that were 100% accurate are now 50% accurate. Luckily, the Kadabra is also inaccurate. It misses a Psy Wave, and then I knock it out with Body Slam, so I still made it to the Alakazam with full health, but this won't help if it uses Psychic. It goes for Psy Wave instead, actually doing a lot of damage. Wow. I miss my Body Slam, Sabrina uses an X Defend, I hit my next Body Slam, Alakazam uses Recover, taking itself back up to full health, and then my next Body Slam connects, paralyzing. Okay, that's great. And then I can't really believe it, but despite having my accuracy lowered by the AI, I am able to connect with enough Body Slams and finish Sabrina off. So that was a really lucky fight, but I'll take it. That's great. So I've defeated another gym leader, and I guess now I should head back to Koga because there's nothing else to do. I need his badge if I'm going to use Surf. I honestly think I need the RNG gods to smile on me here, so maybe let's just use Ice Beam against the first Venonat and hope for a freeze. I get it. First fight. Amazing. This feels really good. So now I can set up fully with Swords Dance, maxing out my attack stat, and by doing this I'm obviously going to one-hit all of the Venonats, and I will also one-hit the Venomoth. I think it could knock me out if it got a critical hit with Psychic, but instead it just goes for Leech Life, doing 6 damage, and then I knock it out. So with that, I've earned myself the 6th badge, and a 12.5% boost to my speed stat, which Krabby desperately needs. I surf south to Cinnabar Island, explore the mansion. Here I pick up the TM for Blizzard. This is probably going to be required for Lance. I don't know if Ice Beam is going to be dealing enough damage to him, so I want to have this move just in case. After that I head into Blaine's gym, and here I finish off all of the optional trainers to level up Krabby as much as is possible. Okay, so the Fire Gym Leader should be easy, right, for my Water type? If you're thinking that, you don't know Pokemon Yellow very well. Let's do this. Up first is Ninetales. This is his slowest Pokemon, by the way, and Krabby doesn't have a chance of outspeeding it. However, after one use of Swords Dance, I'm at least speed tied with it. I figured here that maybe I could sweep, but Ninetales survives my hit with Body Slam, confuses me. I do finish it off on the next turn, but I figured that I would need at least one more Swords Dance, so I get that on the Rapidash. This boosts my speed so that I'm faster than all of Blaine's Pokemon. My next Body Slam takes the Rapidash out. Okay, so now it's time for his ace, Arcanine. And here, Blaine reverts to his red and blue days, actually uses a Super Potion, which by the way is very rare in yellow version, and that allows me to finish him off. So yes, Blaine was easy for my water type. That feels so good. So the only gym leader left at this point is Giovanni. I'm going into this fight at level 51, and my medium fast growth rate doesn't give me great confidence. I am probably going to level up partway through the fight, and that will reset my badge boosts, and then because of my speed, I can also get hit by Fissure, so the Dugtrio just knocks me out while I'm trying to set up. So Pokemon that have low speed stats really struggle here against Giovanni because he is always somewhat of a coin flip, just because the Dugtrio can instantly knock you out with Fissure at the beginning of the battle if you're not faster. So there's always a large consistency improvement in this fight if you can just have more than 133 speed, and it's much more consistent if you can have more than 135 speed to move first against the Persian. Instead of chancing it against the Dugtrio, I think it makes more sense to be setting up here. I'm trying for Ice Beam because if I get the freeze, then I can set up for free, but I don't get it, and Persian lowers my defense stat down to -4. It's also set up Double Team, and this is really why I don't like facing the Persian, because it can get so random with double teams and then hit really hard with guaranteed crits on Slash. And that's how I lose this second fight against Giovanni. Because the Persian just knocked me out, I tried to set up on the Dugtrio. By the way, here I want to note that there is a glitch. When a Pokemon is paralyzed and the opponent Pokemon uses a move that boosts its stats, then the paralysis debuff is reapplied, and you can actually see that here while I'm using Swords Dance. The Dugtrio's speed is getting cut all the way down to 1. Because of how Fissure works, if I have more speed than the Dugtrio, then I can never be hit by it. So now the only thing that I need to fear is Sand Attack, and unfortunately I do get my accuracy lowered to -2. Of course, as a result, I'm not able to hit, and the Dugtrio finishes me off. So you might wonder now why I'm not using rare candies. This seems like a fairly dire situation to be in, and it would be nice to just level up and maybe outspeed, but I don't think if I used 10 rare candies now, I would get the speed required to even move first against the Doug trio. If I can save these candies for later, then I will have a higher level finish and a more reliable league. So maybe what can happen is the Persian can just not attack me, I can set up 2 swords dances, use body slam to knock it out, and now hopefully I will one-hit the 2 Nidos. Okay, the Nido Queen survives on a sliver, but Giovanni just uses a guard spec. I finish the Nido Queen off, Nido King's next. It has less defense, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, so I'm able to polish it off with a single body slam. I level up, resetting my badge boosts. This doesn't matter though, because I have way more speed than the Rhydon. It has a terrible special stat, and I have Crab Hammer, which hopefully will get a critical hit, and it does. So with that, I have defeated Giovanni. It did take quite a bit of luck though. So there's only one more battle before the league. It's with the rival. Now here, I want to see how much damage the Sand Slash is doing to me with Slash. And it looks like it's only doing about a third, so I'm going to be able to get in at least one more Swords Dance. Okay, it just goes for Fury Swipes, so I'll get in all 3 turns of setup, and this gives me 144 speed, meaning I'll move first against all of the rival's Pokemon. However, I'm going to level up and reset this boost, or I'm going to get a critical hit against the Cloyster. It uses Supersonic. Luckily it fails. Really didn't want to hit myself in confusion. And then I knock it out. Magneton's next. Once I defeat it, I level up. This resets my speed, meaning the Kadabra can move first. The RNG is on my side though, because it only goes for Reflect. I finish it off with Body Slam, and the Flareon is obviously a one-hit. So with that, Krabby has gained passage to the league. However, here as I make my way through Victory Road, I have a bit of a confession. This isn't my first playthrough with Krabby. I actually did one last summer, and I was intending to film a second playthrough and release it as a video, but then life just got too busy, I got too disorganized with my schedule. I filmed a Shellder playthrough as well, and I was never able to release them just because things got very busy going into the fall. I'm thinking at some point in the future I will drag out these old playthroughs and do sort of like a tea time with Scott, where I do on-the-fly commentary while watching back the entire playthrough and we just kind of hang out together. Anyways, the one piece of knowledge that I was able to derive from this playthrough is the fact that Agatha is really bad for Krabby. It has almost nothing against her. Like, yeah, Ice Beam and Crab Hammer. I'm gonna have to beat her with those moves. It's not gonna be fun. So I want to prepare as much as is possible. Once I reach Indigo Plateau, I fly back to Celadon City, and here I'm going to sell all the items I don't need to buy vitamins so that I can use as many as are possible. I'm able to max out my attack, special, and speed, and almost max out my HP stat. I neglected defense in this case because I don't really need it against Agatha. After that, I head to the power plant. In here, I want to pick up 1 rare candy, and then I go back to Victory Road and do a little bit of training against wild Pokemon to take Krabby up to level 54. With those 3 things done, I'm now ready to take on the league. Okay, so Lorelei's first. Now because I leveled up to 54, I know that I'm not going to level up mid-fight. That means after my full setup on the Dugong, I'm going to outspeed the rest of her team. I am like 100% sure that I will one-hit everything except the Cloyster. Luckily, it doesn't really have any moves that are good against Krabby, and because Lorelei has good AI, it is only going to be using Spike Cannon. I finish it off, Slowbro's next, it's a one-hit, Jinx of course is a one-hit, and so Krabby's made it to her ace, Lapras. I use Body Slam, take it out in a single hit, and with that, the first member of the league is no more. Now we're going to have to wait for a moment to fight the second member of the league because up first is this hiker. I set up Swords Dance just to ensure that I one-hit the Machamp. I don't want to give it a chance to use Submission. Also, I really want to one-hit the Hitmonchan so I don't get frozen or paralyzed, and one-hit the Hitmonlee so it doesn't use High Jump Kick. Of course, I have Crab Hammer for the second Onix. Against Machamp, I go for Body Slam. It gets a critical hit, allowing the hiker's ace to hang on. It goes for Submission, but Krabby hangs on and I finish him off. Alright, so with that, we have made it to Agatha, and she is going to be Krabby's greatest challenge yet. I have saved 12 rare candies to this point, and I'm going to use most of them to take Krabby all the way up to level 65. So now as I go into this battle, I want to explain something, and that's why I chose Crabhammer over Silph for the majority of this playthrough. Well, number one is the fact that Krabby isn't really relying on same type attack bonus moves, because it's focused mostly around just using Body Slam and Swords Dance together. That gives me a little bit of flexibility in which special moves I want on my moveset, and I didn't want to be locked into Silph, because when Crabhammer is getting critical hits, it does more damage than Silph does to the ghosts. Now if we look into this interaction mathematically, Crabhammer is actually on average dealing much more damage than Silph. This is of course factoring in the chance that Crabhammer has not to get a critical hit, as well as the chance it has to miss. Another major advantage of using Crabhammer is that when it does hit, and when it gets a critical hit, it is doing much more damage than Silph has the potential to do. Because of this, it becomes far more likely to two-hit all of Agatha's ghosts with Crabhammer, when there isn't even a possibility of two-hitting the ghosts with Silph, when I don't score at least one critical hit. And with Silph, that's much less likely because Krabby has a kind of trash base speed. So for the Agatha battle, Crabhammer is going to be the much better choice, and I couldn't lock myself into Silph earlier on in the playthrough, and then have this move as well as the rest of my moveset. And of course, Ice Beam is also useful here because it has a chance to freeze. If and when I do get the status condition, then I'll be able to set up Swords Dance for free. Now while this move isn't useful for Crabhammer because when I get a critical hit, it bypasses my stat changes, it is useful for my speed, allowing me to go first against Agatha's Pokemon. Also being set up with my attack stat ensures that I one-hit the Golbat and the Arbok when I use Body Slam. You might wonder here how the badge boost affects Silph's damage. Well, in this case, Silph's average damage will be higher than Crabhammer's average damage. That's just because Silph never misses. However, when Crabhammer does hit and get a critical hit, it does more damage than Silph, so in these cases it still allows me to two-hit the ghosts sometimes. So what I'm really trying to boil down and say here is that Crabhammer has a higher probability of two-hitting all the ghosts, and even after setup, Silph does not compete. In my second fight, which was very surprising to me, I actually made it to the final Gengar. But then it goes for Hypnosis, puts Krabby to sleep, starts using Dream Eater. Okay, luckily I wake up, that foils one of its Dream Eaters. My best choice here is going for Crabhammer. I miss, it sets up Confuse Ray, I miss again. It goes for Psychic, lowering my special. Crabhammer hits, gets a critical hit, doing half to the Gengar, and then it puts me back to sleep. Okay, so that's a loss. Now look at the clock. I'm around 1 hour and 12 minutes of real time played, so Krabby is actually doing decently well up until this point. But unfortunately for me, Agatha is going to take a while. I have reset after reset after reset here. I entered Agatha's chamber with 13 resets, and now I have 23. Okay, I guess that's 24. This is really not going well. In the next battle, Agatha switches to Golbat. My first Ice Beam freezes, which is really convenient. I get one setup with Swords Dance, and then she sends in Gengar. But she just switches it out right away. I finish my setup, knock it out, and then I freeze the Gengar when it comes back out. Haunter's next, I go for Ice Beam first turn against it, and then Crabhammer to knock it out in 2 turns. I one-hit the Arbok with Body Slam, and now it's time for her ace Gengar. I go for Ice Beam first turn, it does about a quarter. Gengar goes for Dream Eater. I really wish they had coded her AI so that she couldn't do that when you aren't asleep. Next I go for Crabhammer, taking the Gengar down to orange health. It goes for another Dream Eater, and then I finish it off. So Krabby has finally defeated Agatha. That was very brutal. The clock is now around 1 hour and 18 minutes. Overall, I spent about 9 minutes in Agatha's chamber alone. Alright, so for Lance, I'm going to teach Blizzard in the place of Ice Beam. I just want extra damage against the dragons. I do not want to rely on Krabby's special stat. It is still not 3 digits, by the way, and I am level 65. I also saved my PP ups for this move, so I'll use those now. And with that, I am ready to take on the Dragon Master. Up first is Gyarados. Now, I really want to set up here so that the rest of the fight is much easier. Unfortunately, it goes for Hyper Beam 1 turn too late, so so I don't get a free turn of setup there. I finish it off with Body Slam, and now I should be able to Body Slam both Dragonairs and make it to the Aerodactyl. However, I did have a mid-battle level up, so I don't have the speed to move first. Luckily, Aerodactyl misses Hyper Beam. I hit Crab Hammer, and it just barely doesn't go down. This allows Aerodactyl to use Hyper Beam again. This time it hits, and Krabby faints. Okay, so what I didn't do was use my rare candies. If I use one and level up to level 66, then I won't have the mid-battle level up, and I should move first against the Aerodactyl. However, in this fight, I make it back with even lower health. I'm just hoping now that Crabhammer will roll better damage and knock it out. And it does. Okay, all that's left is Dragonite. I go for Blizzard, and it has the damage it needs. So with that, I have made it to the champion. Okay, so in this fight, for water types, the pairing of Executor and then Magneton is usually really awful. The fact that Cloyster follows these two is also not particularly nice for Krabby because I'm going to have to defeat it with Body Slam. Also, because of my speed stat, I really need to set up on the Sandslash, and I need at least 2 Swords Dances so that I'll move first against the Alakazam. I get all 3 today because remember I'm badge boosting my defense stat, so each Earthquake is doing less and less damage. I have red health left over. I decide to knock the Sandslash out. I went for Crabhammer because it is super effective, but it just misses and then the Sandslash takes me out. Okay, so this was obviously a misplay, just so I don't use Crabhammer, because I really don't think I need it. I can just sweep with Body Slam. I'll teach Rest in its place. That gives me a way to heal once I make it to the Executor. I set up fully against the Sandslash, knock it out with Body Slam, outspeed the Alakazam, knocking it out with Body Slam, and now it's time for the Executor. Here I'm poisoned, but you don't take damage if you knock the opponent's Pokemon out, so I just decided to go for the sweep. I knock out the Executor, I knock out the Magneton, and now it's time for the Cloyster. Can Body Slam do it? Yes, it can. All that's left is Flareon. It does get a quick attack in, doing very little damage. I finish it off, and with that, Krabby has beat the game. It clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 42 seconds, with 26 resets at level 69. This took 4 hours and 31 minutes of game time. Alright, so let's get into my second playthrough with Krabby. Now, I want to mention something at the very start, which is the fact that the rival battle in the lab is not a guaranteed win. Bubble is so bad against the Eevee. As a result, I do have to restart the playthrough several times before I'm finally able to win this battle. I think that's really important just to get as much experience as is possible to give Krabby a decent level for Brock. Now, one small optimization I made here is I go into the Brock fight at level 12 so that when I knock the Geodude out, I level up to level 13. This gives me 23 speed against the Onix, meaning that we're speed tied, so that makes it very unlikely for him to be able to trap me in Bind for a very extended period of time. Okay, so off onto Route 3. Being level 13 really helps here. It's over a damage rounding threshold, and I'm able to defeat these trainers a little bit easier. They're still kind of scary, like Youngster Ben almost finishes me off, but I do take the victory. Okay, now in Mount Moon, I'm going to fight a bunch of optional trainers, and this is specifically to level Krabby up so that it is level 20 by the time I reach Cerulean City. I want to have Vice Grip. This way I can take on Misty right away without backtracking at all or having any losses. Also, it's worth noting here that last time I used Bide against her, but this time, even though she's setting up her defense and the defense stat is glitching out once again, I just go with Vice Grip because if I get a critical hit, I'll knock the Starmie out very quickly. I finish her off, learn Bubble Beam, and this lets me sweep through the rivals team with ease. Okay, so let's jump ahead to Surge. Now, Krabby's Body Slam has a 97% chance to knock the Raichu out in 2 hits. That feels fairly reliable, especially because I could paralyze 30% of the time. So just to know how ridiculous this fight is to have consistency, I would need level 40 to speed tie the Raichu and level 41 to move first consistently. Obviously, it does not make sense to do Surge after Rock Tunnel just because of this. Also, at level 41, Raichu has a 67% chance to one-hit Krabby if it uses Thunderbolt. So in this case, I am just extremely lucky that Surge does not have good AI in yellow. When I arrive in the Celadon department store, I have enough money to buy 5 vitamins. I'm going to use 4 carbos and 1 protein. I'm splitting the vitamins in this way, just so I can use the ones that are free that I pick up later in the playthrough. Okay, so now it's time for some changes to the run. I need to do training. This is for Agatha specifically. So I'm going to defeat some of the trainers in the fighting dojo and then head to Silph where I'm going to fight more trainers. Of course, I did the rocket hideout to grab the extra rare candy. So adding those trainers in, I fight a total of 14 optional trainers in this section of the game. This takes Krabby up to level 40 before I fight the rival here. There are 2 inconsistencies in this fight. I'm not going to outspeed the Kadabra, and I do need to set up Swords Dance, meaning I take damage from the Sand Slash. In this case, I got the worst case scenario where it slashes me twice in a row and I have to use Body Slam before fully setting up. As a result, I'm not able to one-hit the Cloister, but I do get Paralysis, and that allows me to take out it and the Magneton that follows. Okay, so it's time for the Kadabra. Now I can make it past this thing because it can fail Disable. It can also recover at full health, or it could fail to knock me out with Confusion. In this case, if it did use Confusion, it would have got me though, because it does between 42 and 50% damage to Krabby. Luckily, it just failed to recover, so with that, I've won this battle. As was the case before, I fight all the trainers in Erica's gym and then finish her off next. And now it is time for Koga. So here's what needs to happen in this fight. I need the first Venonat to miss Sleep Powder, or I need to have Ice Beam freeze. In my opinion, waiting for the 25% chance for Sleep Powder to miss is more reliable, so I'm going to go for that. And I only need 1 turn of setup with Swords Dance to guarantee 1 hits on all of the Venonats at level 46. Luckily, in my first fight, Sleep Powder misses, so I sweep through the Venonats and arrive at Venomoth. Now with 1 turn of setup, Krabby has a 21% chance to one-hit the Venomoth, and the Venomoth is only going to KO me with Psychic if it gets a critical hit. Plus, it could also choose its other 3 moves, so in this case, it just goes for double team, I'm still able to hit, and then I finish it off. In the Cinnabar Island gym, I fight the trainers because I want to train up as much as possible in preparation for Agatha. Against Blaine, I did have to get a bit lucky. If I set up Swords Dance 3 times, then I have a 90% chance to one-hit all of his Pokemon. Instead, I just decided to 2-hit everything with 1 setup with Swords Dance. Also, he then lowered my defense, which speed boosted me and allowed me to move first against the Rapidash. However, on the Arcanine, I just got the RNG that I needed. I survived Fire Blast, and then it goes for Reflect twice in a row, allowing me to finish it off. Okay, so time for Sabrina. What makes most sense here is to use Swords Dance once on the Abra, boosting my speed and my attack. This is going to allow me to move first against the Kadabra and knock it out. I make it to the Alakazam, it goes for Reflect, so it is going to survive my Body Slam, but it just reflects again following Blaine's lead and I finish it off. Okay, so I did all of this in under an hour. Now those last 2 fights did require some luck, and I wish there was a way through them more consistently, but I need to stay at a low level for as long as possible so that I can have the maximum possible level and damage against Agatha later on. After all, if I lose like 3 to 5 minutes earlier on in the game because of bad RNG, I will still probably net a time savings at Agatha because last time she took 9 minutes. I don't have good news for Giovanni. I wasn't really sure what the best choice was here. Do I set up fully and then sweep, or do I just try and squeeze through the fight with like 1 turn of setup so that I'm moving first against the Nidoking? In this time, I went for the 1 turn of setup for the speed and then the sweep. This does give me the 1 hit on the Persian, which is really nice, but I'm going to 2-hit both the Nidoqueen and the Nidoking. I would have lost if both of them hit Thunder, but I was like, what's the chance that they both hit Thunder? After all, Giovanni can use Guard Specs, and Thunder has terrible accuracy. Once they're down, I can finish the Rhydon off with Crabhammer, and that means I made it to the rival before the league. He's not a challenge for Krabby, and then in Victory Road I am going to defeat 1 optional trainer, the cool trainer with Persian and Ninetales. This is going to give Krabby the experience it needs to perfectly map out its experience for the league. So now, because my experience is at this sort of wonky place, I have to Body Slam the Dugong first so that it'll use Rest and give me 2 turns to set up Swords Dance to +4. Then I can knock the Dugong and the Cloister out. Remember, the Cloister can only use Spike Cannon or Supersonic. After that, I level up going into the Slowbro, and if I use Swords Dance once, then I have enough speed and damage to sweep her final 3 Pokemon. But in this case, I get a critical hit against the Lapras, and it knocks me out with Body Slam. Kind of frustrating, that is my first reset in this playthrough, but I am able to make it through on the next attempt. Okay, so now it's time for Agatha. And all of that experience mapping that I did before means that after I use all my rare candies, I can level up to level 68 for this fight. So that's 1 damage rounding threshold higher than last time. Alright, so I really need to go through the damage ranges in this fight because they are incredibly important. Crabhammer has a 61% chance to 2-hit the first Gengar at level 68. Now you'll notice here that I am not going for Ice Beam, and this is specifically because I just want to knock her Pokemon out as fast as is possible. I take her Gengar down, I only have half health left when the Golbat comes out. Now here, I'm going to set up Swords Dance once. This gives me the guaranteed 1-hit on the Golbat if I actually used Body Slam, that is. I misclicked on Crabhammer there. She switches in Haunter. By the way, this thing, I have a 95% chance to 2-hit with Crabhammer. In this case, I get it. I finish the Golbat off. The Arbok is also a guaranteed 1-hit when I have a Swords Dance, and now it's time for the final Gengar. I'm actually lucky here that the Golbat poisoned me because this thing cannot put me to sleep. I have a 10% chance to 2-hit it, but a 99% chance to 3-hit with Crabhammer. Unfortunately, in this case, the poison turns out to be a bad thing because Krabby doesn't survive it. Alright, so how many Agatha attempts is this going to take? Well, in this playthrough, it takes 3, which honestly I would say is pretty good luck. Level 68 really helped with the damage ranges here. Either way, I'm happy to be moving on about 7 minutes faster than I was in the previous playthrough. Now for Lance, I can make another adjustment. Remember how I didn't need Crabhammer for the champion? So I might as well just teach Rest now, and that means if this fight is going poorly, then I can heal up on the second Dragonair because it knows Bubble Beam and Ice Beam, so what is it really going to do to Krabby? After that, I use 1 rare candy. I saved this and didn't use it at Agatha. This way I can be level 69, which is nice because now I don't level up in the middle of the Lance battle. This means that I outspeed the Aerodactyl, hit Blizzard, knock it out in 1 hit, and now I just need Blizzard to hit on the Dragonite, and I've won. Alright, so there's only 1 fight left in the game. This is the champion, and here I am going to teach Krabby Surf in the place of Blizzard. It's kind of satisfying for Krabby to use both Crabhammer and Surf in the playthrough. Plus, this is really going to help against the Sand Slash because I can use Surf and one-shot right away. This does expose me to damage against the Alakazam, but I can one-hit it with Body Slam without setting up Swords Dance. Now that I've made it to the Executor, this thing is only going to spam Leech Seed, so I can set up Swords Dance for free, use Rest to heal, and after that, I can sweep the rest of his team with Body Slam. So in Krabby's second playthrough, it clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 4 seconds, with 3 resets at level 70. This took 4 hours and 39 minutes of game time. So I was able to save a lot of real time and a lot of resets. I finished the game 1 level higher, and it did take me 8 more minutes of game time. However, overall, I'm pretty satisfied with these results. I think if I could just wave my magic wand and change one thing for Krabby, I would give it a move like Dig so that it could deal with Agatha a little bit better. I wish there was a more consistent strategy there. I attempted things like using Harden for more badge boosts, or using Blizzard for more damage, but in the end, Crabhammer ended up being the best strat. So what placement do these results earn Krabby in my tier list? Well, because its time is less than 1 hour and 30 minutes, but greater than 1 hour and 10 minutes, it's gonna fit somewhere in the E tier. So its time was slower than Meowth, but it was 1 second faster than Tentacool. Honestly, with the room for margin and bumping into walls and stuff like that, I think these two are basically on the same level. However, I am going to put Krabby in front of Tentacool in the tier list, and that's just because its real time was less than Tentacool, and its game time was significantly lower than Tentacool. Plus, Tentacool has the slow growth rate, and that growth rate is the bad growth rate for solo challenges. So today, Krabby earns the 2nd spot in the E tier. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I gotta read them all. If you want exclusive content, consider clicking the join button on YouTube or signing up on Patreon. I am starting to ramp up production of my Fire Red series once again. I also just want to say a huge thank you to all the people who do support the channel. It really makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, you're incredible, and I'll see you in my next video. Okay, so let's do the battle against Oak with Krabby. Now, this is only available if you use a glitch, but in my case, I just hacked it into a special ROM so that I'm able to do this for every video. Krabby's strategy here is pretty much what it's been doing this entire time, just set up with Swords Dance. Luckily, the Tauros doesn't really know anything good that's much of a threat. It gets locked into Rage right away, giving me free setup, and then it's time to sweep. With my speed boosted, I'm able to move first and knock the Tauros out with Body Slam, then I level up which resets my speed boost, but I have one more speed than the Arcanine, so I am going to move first against all of his Pokemon still. I finish the Exeggutor off, the Arcanine's next, Body Slam 1 hits it, then Venusaur comes in. Now this thing would hit really hard if it used a Razor Leaf, but I don't give it a chance. Last is his level 70 Gyarados. I hit with Body Slam, and it goes down. So that's it. Krabby defeated Professor Oak.